Hi, I'm Scott Blake and my partners are Suzanne Hardwick and Renee Little. You'll meet them later. Today we are going to be discussing dominance and difference of being physically disabled in the context suited for 7-year-old classroom for our self-education and society first year assignment. The article we're using was published in New York Amsterdam News in 2004 and is titled "Disabled Kids Constantly Defend Their Able Minds." As the headline suggests, this article is about how people in society are constantly taking physical disability such as cerebral palsy, spinal bifida or paraplegia as not just physically disabled but also mentally, before even testing the child in question. The article follows 2 children that suffer from cerebral palsy that attend their town's local high school and feel that the term special education isolates us. This is the article, guys. Okay. Nearly 10% of people ages 6 to 21 are served by the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act every year. While these special needs students may be able to receive extra service like more time on test through the school's special education program, some disagree with the use of the term. CPL interviewed 2 students with cerebral palsy, a nervous system disease that disables voluntary movements like walking. Tavo Fox, 16, New York City. It's kinda lonely being the only student in a wheelchair at school, but it's an honour because as the only one there, it shows that my intellect is worthy of attending that school. Yet I wish I had another mate or disabled person I can relate to. The phrase special needs or special education isolates us somewhat, because they mean that someone needs extra help. This causes people to think that you cannot cope with regulars in class. I think that is totally wrong and misguided. When I was younger in 2nd grade, people took my wheelchair for granted. For 3 years they put me in special education class and I got a perfect score. So they took me out of my special education class and placed me in mainstream class. Educators need to test everyone with special educational needs to see whether they truly belong there, because I think half of the students who are in special education do not belong there. Peter Trojic, 16, Long Island City. My disability affects me physically only. People assume I can't comprehend what they are saying and it lowers my self-esteem. Some kids assume I can't do partner work or I'm slow.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Hardwick.
And I'm Renee Little.
And we're going to be talking about difference and dominance in the area of disability. This article isn't the first time we've heard about students being treated differently because of their physical disability. What society is doing is bundling all disabilities into the same basket, regardless of what the disability is. As you can see, this is unimaginably unfair towards those students who actually are mentally able, if not more able than those who do not possess a physical disability. A great example of such ability is that of Dr. Stephen Hawking, who is unquestionably one of the brightest minds of our time. However, for those who are not aware of Dr. Hawkins' disability, it is a rare type of motor neuron disease which left him unable to walk or talk for himself. And he relies on a motorised wheelchair to move about and a computer program to speak for him. Although physically he is heavily disabled, mentally he's probably smarter than 89% of the Australian population. Dr. Hawkins possesses an IQ level of 160 or more. The problem here is society is projecting the views of what is normal and different. And those people that fall into the different category have it pushed onto them in such a way that it's nearly always a negative feeling towards them. This is expressed in the article by the 2 children mentioned. When someone falls into the other grouping, it is obviously like living in a glass house, being untouchable but watching those who aren't part of the group working around you and establishing the difference, both visually and non-visually, and gathering an opinion based upon what they have seen and witnessed, not what the person in question can actually do. Another issue that is constantly overlooked is not everyone is born with a physical disability. There are hundreds of cases of people at multiple ages becoming physically disabled, from reasons ranging from diseases such as multiple sclerosis and muscular dystrophy, to becoming wheelchair bound because of car accidents that severed the spinal cord or needing amputations. These people were originally part of the normal group and lived completely normal functioning lives, and most likely judged that kid in the wheelchair at one stage or another. But as soon as they are forced to become part of what society views as different, they are forced out of the glass house and become the object of judgment. These people before their ordeals may have never suffered a mental illness, but as soon as a physical disability comes into play, everyone assumes that they have a mental disability as well.
Now we move on to the important topic of dominance in relation to disability and how society views disability. The definition of the dominant group of people is the hegemonic white able-bodied person in relation to any person physically or mentally disabled. This is particularly evident in today's media. These people are the people that would wrongly categorise non-able-bodied people, students in particular, as people who are dumb or intellectually below the rest of the group in that age. It is bad enough for the people who are white and disabled, but the discrimination is so much worse for the people who are black and disabled. This discrimination is evident in the article, as students who are physically disabled are treated as mentally disabled by people who are able-bodied. Later in the article, it is revealed, after those students were tested on the same level as the able-bodied cohort, that they still possess the same mental ability as the able-bodied students do, regardless of what physical ability they possess. In this example, a wheelchair. This is showing that the dominant group automatically believe that these students aren't all there, and thus aren't able to keep up with the curriculum without being in a special education class that caters for their needs. Now we move on to how to give students an explicit educational lesson to help them understand that physically disabled people are not necessarily mentally disabled. The proposed unit would start with a lesson similar to the brown eyes, blue eyes experiment. With parental permission, due to the ethics of the classroom activity, we would tag half the class with an armband of the colour red and the other half the colour green. The children with the red bands will be the children that have a physical disability, and the children with the green bands are the normal children. For half a week, the red-banded students would be ignored when the teacher asks questions for the class, and if the red-banded student is allowed to answer the question, the teacher would tell them that they are wrong, in a nice manner, even if they are right. Every time the teacher talks to one of the red-banded students, they'll speak slowly using simple words. Halfway through the week, the students will swap bands and the other half of the class will get the same treatment. The class activities for each day will go on as normal. However, the topics of the classroom revolve around famous people with disability and disability in society. Students will learn about a variety of disabilities and get a general understanding of why, scientifically, the disability has occurred. For example, Down syndrome is caused by too many chromosomes on the 22nd pair. However, we would simplify it enough to be able to just say there was a mistake in the child's genetic makeup. Then the conversation can lead on to a scientific class about what genes are.
Next activity is classroom discussion. After each day, the teacher would bring the class onto the carpet/sitting area, where the teacher would ask questions about how the red-banded people felt, and how the green-banded people felt, and whether or not it was nice for the students who were intelligent to be treated as outcasts, or whether they liked seeing their friends being treated as different, and vice versa.
Every day in the following week, guest speakers would come in and talk to the students about their disability and how it affects them. A variety of people might come in, someone from the Paralympics, such as a basketball player, mums, dads, older students, etc. Each speaker would be asked to emphasise the fact that being different doesn't give the dominant child, the child without a disability, the right to make the difference so evident in day-to-day situations. The disability does not always mean that the child is dumb. Also, get the volunteers to emphasise that the difference is just difference. Each student will then choose one of the guest speakers and make a poster about that person and their disability. Magazines and other materials will be supplied to the students in order for them to be creative. The posters must have 3 key elements: the person's profession, disability, and the role in the immediate family. Each student will then present the poster to the rest of the class. The teacher will ask the students questions about the poster and the chosen guest. For example, do you think so-and-so was a nice man, woman? Do you think this person would have been bullied when they were at school? Why? And finally, would you think it's right to do that? The next classroom activity that we're going to look at undertaking with the children is taking form of a debate that will be formed in the final week of the disability unit, after the children have concluded the previous activities such as the Red Band, Green Band project, guest speakers, discussions, and the project week. The purpose of this activity is for the children to discover if their views on disability have changed over the unit, and have the ability as a group or an individual to defend their point of view. This activity takes form as a classroom debate, and the teacher acting as a mediator and appointer of a student speaker. Each debate, the teacher is to pick a question and write it on the whiteboard behind the children. They are then asked to move to the left or right side of the room, the left being negative and the right being positive. Then the children as a group must decide what their points of view are, and when the teacher chooses a child to speak on the behalf of that team, they must be able to defend their point of view. Although their point of view does not have to be very well defined or very deep in meaning, they simply have to be able to explain why they think that. This gives the children the ability to work as a group and discover things that they may have not concluded by themselves. To sum up, the class unit was designed to broaden sensibilities and sensitivity towards disability and hopefully allow the children to learn to think before they act when it comes to dealing with issues such as disability. This was done through numerous classroom activities, including discussing difference and dominance in the way society views people with physical disabilities.